Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame. Right now, what you'll notice is price is testing the previous week's low price right now. Below that previous week's low of 40.56, right now trading 40.50, 40.49s, and testing the edge at this moment of this range. This is an early opportunity this week to watch for some sort of trap and reversal back up within the range that would take you back toward 41.75 to 4200 up above. A failure, so a downside break through that previous week's low and a failure to hold 40.50 on the whole by the end of the day could mean that we are failing to hold inside this range, and we will now rotate back down to the next key pivot low, which is 3900. So 40.50 is going to be very important. Given the early test at the extreme early this week, watch for signs of rejection or failure here, which could bring us back up the way, at least back toward the previous week's midpoint, maybe beyond, to begin the week here. So watching the previous week's low very closely. Taking a look here at the NQ. Very similar price action. This one also testing the previous week's low here. It is the two-week lows as well. Basically, this range has developed at the highs right above the previous quarter's high, and we're hanging out right now. Again, given the early test at the extreme to begin the week, bulls want to be able to defend and reject prices at and below the previous week's low, which could lead to a snapback toward the previous week's midpoint, which is around 12,550-ish, and then perhaps even a move across the way to the previous week's high. So that's going to be the early idea. Again, keeping an eye on the previous week's low. A failure to hold that level, a failure to hold 12.2, for example, by the end of the day, could open up a rotation back down toward 11.5 up ahead. All right, let's take a look here at crude oil. Right now, crude oil seeing a bit of strength here from the Friday's lows, bit of a sell-off Friday. When you kind of zoom out of crude oil here, you'll notice again this market is sitting right around the center point of its larger range. You have the 82 to 83 zone up above, you got the 72, 70 zone down below, and then right here you got about 77, 78, and that's the middle of the area right here. We've been trading right around this zone. Gave up the previous month's midpoint and are seeing a retest early on here to begin the day. A failure. You know, if this morning strength is sold and we see an inverted check mark trend day down, that could lead to a test at 72s up ahead. So right now, keeping an eye on the previous month's midpoint here, this early pullback. Our bear is going to come in, defend that zone, and push this thing back down. Or do we continue to chop around this mid zone? You know, anywhere between 76, for example, and 80 could be that middle chop between the two major extremes. We could continue to see chop before we find an edge. So be careful of the chop in the middle of the zone. All right, let's take a look here at gold futures. Gold is down about 1/3 of 1%, almost 0.3 of 1%, been trending lower. We finally found our first decent bounce after the strong high back in 1975. That bounce also coincided here with the previous year's close price. So we've seen this thing go bid, we found a strong rejection, and we came all the way back for the round trip to take out those lows. And a decent bounce on Friday. This bounce puts you right back above the previous session's mid. Nice little bullish tail there. But still not the strongest low that would suggest a wholesale bounce just yet. This market's still trending downward for the most part here. You see the 8 period rolling over to provide resistance. Failed new high developing here. This midpoint's going to be very important here at 1840 the rest of the day. And it still appears as though we're trending downward. 1830 is the big level here, though. Bulls want to keep that area bid for a bounce back toward 19 and maybe higher. A failure to hold that 1830, and you're opening up a return back down within this portion of the profile. So keeping it out on 1830 as we move forward. Lastly, taking a look here at the YM. The YM has been stuck within this narrow range for quite some time. You'll notice right here, this is the first trading day of February. That's the first trading day low of February right there, and we've seen price every single time it gets to an extreme, it's able to push back into the range. That's what happened Friday as well. Right now we are currently right at the bottom of the range, not quite below the previous week's low, but right at it, about 1 or 2 ticks above that level, and that is the bottom of the range. You can, if you go back into the end of January, we've been in that range for a very long time. This is the range here. It's stuck within this larger range as well. This 13-14 week range has been compressing for quite some time, and that could lead to a 12, 13, 14 week breakout and trending move once we see that expansion. So right now this thing has been compressed. Again, given the fact that this range has developed at the highs after recent strength, call it 34.5 right here in this area, typically speaking, this could be seen as a range that leads to selling pressure up ahead, kind of a distribution after a brief markup. This could be the round trip that takes us right back to lows at 29K. There's enough energy in this move, or in this range, to move price about 4,000 to 5,000 points. From 34K to 29, that would be 5,000 points. So again, keeping an eye on this range. At some point we'll likely get expansion. As of right now, from a short-term perspective, keep an eye on the previous week's low. Again, a rejection here, and we could be pushing back up within the range. Failure to hold that edge, and we may start to work down toward the bottom of the larger compression. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the week. Good luck, trade well, and we'll see you in the trading room. Take care.